Good evening, everyone, and thank you for watching NBC6 Voices. I am Jawan Strader. Well, college athletes have been profitable for years. Networks and companies alike have been able to make money off of them, their likeness and names, but the athletes didn't receive a dime. Now, new rules set by the NCAA allows college players to be paid for their name, image, and likeness, or NIL. Athletes like Miami Hurricanes quarterback De'Ara King, Kentucky guard Dante Allen, the Cavender twins, and Hershey Miller, son of Master P, to name a few. So now can all be paid for endorsement deals, which allow them to earn money. That's the big discussion. So here is how this all works. We're going to break it all down for you. This is according to the NCAA website. Athletes can now engage in NIL activities in compliance with state laws, and colleges can serve as a resource for NIL legal questions, along with using professional service providers like an agent to help navigate NIL activities. The athletes in states without NIL laws can participate without violating NCAA rules, and states and individual colleges and athletic conferences may impose reporting requirements. So now here with me to talk a little bit more about this is former NFL defensive end Adewale Ogunleye, who is here, also is the head of UBS Sports and Entertainment Division. Wale, welcome to the show.
Really appreciate it.
Well, there you are. We got you, my brother. All right. Also along, joining Wale is NBC6's very own Jorge Andres. Jorge, welcome to the show.
Jawan, thanks for having me. Great discussions that we're about to have. Very important for those young kids.
All right. You got that right. So let's start off with you, Wale. Let's talk a little bit more about this. What do you think about the NCAA's new NIL rule? What do you think about it?
I think it's long overdue. Selfishly enough, me being a former college player, I wish, this ruling was in place when I played. It's no secret that the NCAA makes billions off of collegiate athletics for years. And I think it's a great opportunity for families, especially, students that come from these disenfranchised, low-income backgrounds that become superstars on the collegiate level, now have an opportunity to make ends meet while they're at college. Looking at it from our perspective at UBS, we see it all the time. Collegiate athletes, even future first-round draft picks, when they get out of college, they're not even able to open up a loan to buy a home or even to get a car, because for 4 years they've been at college, making their school billions of dollars. But when they get done, there's no credit to be had of. There's no bank accounts that were set up. There's no money in the bank. So it's a great opportunity for student athletes to get a good step forward. And I'm glad that the legislation has passed to open the way for student athletes to make money off of their name, image, and likeness.
And Jorge, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts about this? I mean, you're a former college athlete as well. I know you're a sports anchor here at NBC6, but you're a former athlete. See, Wale, he made it to the pros. Right. He got a nice paycheck eventually in the pros. You yourself had a different path. So what are your thoughts? Because this wasn't around when you were around.
Correct. Look, I echo what Wale said. Obviously, selfishly, I wish that this would have been around back when I played about 15 years ago, but it was completely different. These schools and these universities have been making money off of athletes for many, many years, and there hasn't been anything outside of that for the players. Now, there are certain players like Wale himself and other ones that go on and propel their careers into the NFL. And for that, that's amazing and an applause. But the majority of collegiate athletes, especially in a high injury level type of sport like football, don't get to make it to that level. I had a great time in college. I was a good ball player, but I didn't have that speed, if you will. Injuries lingered around, if you will. I went into sports broadcasting because I said, hey, this is a way where I can use my writing ability, my public speaking ability to still be able to do what I want to do, which is be on an NFL football field, be on television and do something that I love. I wish that back then they would have had that, but I'm glad that right now, even though it's a provisional and a testing type of rule that they have right now, it opens the way to those athletes so that they can make some money, and not just to set them up for the future, but a lot of the time to just help their families during that time. You know, I come from very humble beginnings where you don't always have everything, and sometimes the local car wash or the local whatever restaurant offering that autograph signing or that appearance fee could be big enough for a family, for a young family that wants to propel themselves to the next level. When realistically, we're not talking about a number one pick or a fourth round pick or even a very, very good undrafted athlete. We're talking about the level of athleticism ends at the college level, like it did for me. So I think that is a huge, huge door that's being opened now to these athletes that want to be able to not only help their family, but then set themselves up in a positive light for future moves and their future careers.
And Wale, how would this have, maybe helped you out as an undergraduate at Indiana University, that great school, Indiana University, that I love so much that I'm still paying my loans to? How would this have maybe helped you out as a student athlete and a student? Of course, yes, your tuition is paid for, but maybe you needed money for other things.
Oh, definitely. I think it would have helped out a lot in the sense that, like Jorge, we came from humble beginnings ourselves, and our parents both had master's degrees. My mom even had a degree in accounting, but still we lived paycheck to paycheck. And the idea of going to college for free was very appealing to us because both my parents at that time were probably still paying off their college loans. So having the ability to, capitalize on my talents on the field was great to be able to get an education, but two, to also help my parents, get out of the debt that they've created, and then also still being able to balance work, family, and getting me in and out of Indiana back to your alma mater, Indiana back to New York City, having to give me an allowance, to be able to pay for things that I wanted to do off campus that had nothing to do with sports, and having this agreement with NIL would have really alleviated a lot of the pressure on my family, and I'm happy that families that are coming from same backgrounds that I have this opportunity to say, not only are we going to send our child to school, they're going to make billions for the communities and for the surrounding cities, but more importantly, we're going to be able to capitalize as a family ourselves and maybe dig ourselves out of some debt that has been created from our side. It was the education that created debt, but from other people, whatever it is, but talent is going to be able to help push and erase some of the debt that a lot of our families are struggling with here in America.
And from the both of you, I want to know, Jorge, do you see any problems arising from this NIL agreement? Do you see any issues that may come from it?
So a couple of things on that note, Joanna, and that's a great question because, look, the NCAA has made billions with a B, billions of dollars for many, many years off of collegiate sports and off of athletes. Now that they're putting this rule into place under testing, if you will, to see where it's going to lead to, it eventually will pass through, but the parameters on what is allowed is what's going to be the most important thing, because the NCAA is not going to want to lose control of their players and how much they can capitalize on it. Now, the big debate comes in, well, should the NCAA then pay their players, or should they just allow them to receive third-party money from different corporations or different agencies or even different local shops in their town? That's where things are going to be sticky, if you will, because like any business, the NCAA will try to get the most control and have the most control of their players. I think that at the end of the day, if they come to an agreement where the NCAA, who is already making billions of dollars, and that's not going to stop when you're talking about TV deals, marketing deals, stadium deals, and things like that, that's not going to go anywhere. So when they're still making that money and they barter an agreement with their players where they can manage future and anything that is while they're in college in terms of an investment portfolio, perhaps, but they don't touch the side of independent agencies, third party agencies, whether it's the Barstool Sports of the world, the IMG agencies, or whoever it may be that just does representation in terms of autograph signings, in terms of appearances, in terms of menu items for restaurants. For example, in major cities, you may not have this big of an issue because a major university athlete, unless he's a transcending athlete, isn't going to make a big splash because you have pro teams. But in the South Carolinas, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the smaller, the Virginia Techs in Blacksburg, Virginia, the smaller cities, the smaller towns, there's going to be a lot of third-party money where that's where players need to capitalize, and I hope that's where the NCAA and the players with the NIL rules come to an agreement where that isn't an issue, because that can be a very sticky point where it comes down to how much money does the NCAA want. They're already making a ton of money, billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. Very good point. And Wale, I want your take on this as well, because we were talking off camera just a moment ago. We're talking about the NCAA possibly paying players, but which one would be better? Like the NIL deal that they have in place now, or the NCAA maybe in the future paying players? Or does that just open up a whole can of worms when it comes to restrictions and the players when they may want to turn pro?
Yeah, first let me go back, Juwan, and talk about some of the things that the mishaps that we need to make sure that as us here at UBS that we take care of. I think first of all, the students and their parents need to realize that there's going to be a different tax ramifications of the marketing deals that come through, right? Normally you have your children and you claim them on your taxes, and Wale, I was a deduction. But now, if this year comes, you're going to see that I'm making a decent amount of money. Our tax bracket as a family is going to go up, and the amount of taxes we're going to pay, because with marketing deals, they don't take that money out right away. So with marketing deals, the IRS is going to say, hey, excuse me, you owe me my share of this, right? So a lot of families have to make sure, one, in their ecosystem, they surround themselves with a good CPA that's going to help them balance the newfound wealth that's going to come through NIL. Two, good financial advisor that helps teach families on ways that they can manage their money and put their things in the right aspects. One, again, the goal for this is to make sure that families take a good step forward and these athletes have a step forward as they graduate. So I would say, one, families, please understand, you're going to have to pay taxes on this money and have a good ecosystem, and it starts with a good financial advisor. But to answer your question about the NIL and is this the right step, I do think this is the right step. I think the NCAA should take more of a proactive approach of maybe creating a system where the student athletes get paid for maintaining good grades, but also their performance on the field. And maybe putting that into some type of fund where as you graduate, you're able to have access to these funds moving forward. And so, again, you're a student athlete, you're not a professional per se, but this should be something I think the NCAA should look at too, in the sense of creating some type of fund that's also tied into grades, school performance, and actually graduating. And later on, being able to draw from that account would be a great asset for families and these student athletes as they leave these schools.
Okay, both of you, let's talk about the Canes quarterback, De'Ara King, okay, because he became the first college athlete to Florida Panthers, of course, our very own Florida Panthers. He's expected to be present at games and wear merchandise among. Do you think this will interfere with him possibly entering the league? He's a football player endorsing a hockey team. Does this take away at all from the integrity of college athletics?
Well, I'll start. Can I, if you don't mind, Jorge, please?
Go ahead, Wally, please.
At the end of the day, there's got to be, levers and security in place to make sure that these donors these endorsement people, and these shady characters that lurk within the athlete space don't interfere with the integrity of the game. Okay, when there's money involved, you have to now be really, really skeptical of where it's coming from. What are the motives of the people that are putting the money behind these people? Yes, with the Florida Panthers, that's a reputable firm, but a reputable team also. But still, there has to be some checks and balances in place of where this money is going, how it's going to be able to be used. Because again, there can be a lack of focus, not only from the athlete side, but from the family side. When money is involved, you have to account for greed, selfishness, and people just looking out for their best interest at the expense of the athlete. So my thing about it is as long as the athlete stays focused on what the main thing is, and the main thing is winning games and being the best you can be, I see no problem with it. The problem now is these outside external forces pulling on these student athletes that can maybe, say, hey, you know what, don't throw that touchdown in the fourth quarter, or, pull back on running up the score just so that, people that have money involved in this stuff. So when you get money involved, some shady characters get involved, and I hope that the NCAA, which from what I'm seeing, it's not there yet, has some checks and balances in place to make sure that these young men and women are protected as they move forward.
Jorge?
I agree 100% with what Wale just said. Look, it's the reality of it. When money is involved, there are going to be characters involved that are looking for the best interest in them. For them, if there's anybody that's watching this program that possibly has young children that are in athletics, and that this may be a road that happens for them, I can't stress enough the importance of a close-knit circle and the importance of a good financial advisor that thoroughly vets firms and people that are offering endorsement deals. Obviously, with De'Ara King, the Florida Panthers are the Florida Panthers. They're a professional team. I don't think that is going to hurt his draft stock or hurt him going into the pro level and into even more endorsement deals. If anything, it might help in the sense that they know that his team is prepared and he is wrapped around a team that knows how to handle reputable firms, reputable teams, and reputable brands like the Florida Panthers or whatever other brand he may sign on with. Whether the NCAA finds a checks and balances system is yet to be determined, but I think individuals, young college athletes, starting to dabble into these new NIL possibilities need to do their homework. They need to be able to research those firms and those brands thoroughly so that they're able to lock something down that won't come back and bite them later on if they are in the NFL or in whatever pro league they may be. You look at different players in different types of sports, whether it's De'Ara King in hockey or whatnot. That, in my opinion, makes you more marketable because you're seeing yourself as an African American quarterback in De'Ara King that plays football but can connect to a different audience because African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Afro Latinos, we watch everything. You don't necessarily have to be locked into football or any types of sports. So those companies, I think, actually help other athletes and De'Ara King here by opening himself up to a different type of brand. Again, I reiterate, you have to make sure, and obviously the Panthers are a reputable brand, but you have to make sure that those brands are reputable and are going to be in the best interest for you and for your team. And the only way you do that is by what Wale just said, surrounding yourself with good advisors, good people, and really looking at it as a business. Because now, even though these may be 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, you're crossing over into the business side of sports.
Amen. Amen. And my last question to you, Wale, what's your biggest advice for those students out there that do want to play college sports that are thinking of a big payday?
Yeah, I just think, keep the main thing, right? Number one, get your grades, handle that first. At the end of the day, there's really less than 1% that make it professionally. And then two, when you're thinking about NIL, I don't care, even if you make $1 million on an endorsement deal, you're 18, 19, you're not going to retire on $1 million. I know it sounds good. It sounds like you probably could, but you have the rest of your life to deal with. Uncle Sam's going to take half of that. And then that's what, $400,000 to $500,000 you'll have in your pocket. So just look at it from the big perspective. Keep the main thing the main thing. Focus on your education, number one. Two, your sport, getting better at your craft, and eventually things will fall into place. And my advice again is that just keep the main thing, and good things will happen as you move forward.
I really appreciate you both. And my apologies, my brother, because you and I go way back, and I always mess up on your last name. Always.
No.
And I think your wife, which is my sister, is going to kill me again for doing so.
You're dead. You're dead.
I'm in trouble, and I know I'm going to get a text message. So for all those folks, say your last name for all those folks that I just butchered.
It's okay. It's Adewale Ogunleye.
Ogunleye. Thank you. Ogunleye. Because somebody had a nerve to write me, and I just see here, learn how to say your guest's last name before you. I'm like, hold up. And they're like, he's my friend. I'm like, he's my friend too. What you talking about?
It probably was my wife.
I know, right?
Nice.
I don't know a different name. I'm in trouble. Jorge, as always, my brother, man, I really appreciate you, your insight, your sports knowledge, man. I really appreciate you for coming on the show. I'm sure this is not going to be your last time coming on the show, just like Wale, because you've been on the show a number of times. I appreciate
the invite very much. And again, for any college athlete or family watching this and that may have children there, keep your circle small. Focus, like Wale said, focus on your craft, and then you never know. I never played in the NFL, but things opened up for me just by continuing to focus on my craft, not just on the football field, but off the football field as well. I can't harp how important that is.
Yep.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you both.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, moving on now. According to blackbusiness.com, African Americans make up more than 13% of the U.S. population, but only own 7% of businesses in the country. But one South Florida city is working to change that. Joining me now is the City of Lauderhill Commissioner, Melissa Dunn. She's spearheading the Lauderhill Shines program. The program is calling for businesses to register for their intensive training program that helps them navigate through the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur and new business owner. Also, welcome to the show, Ernisha Randolph. Ernisha is the owner of We Shuckin restaurant and Sweet Butter Hospitality Group. She's been on the show before. I want to welcome both of you to the show this evening.
Thank you for having me. Yes, thanks for having me. It's so good to be back.
It's good to have you back. Well, Commissioner, tell me a little bit more about this program that's going on in Lauderhill. And for all those people that may be watching, this is not just for Black businesses, correct?
Correct. Lauderhill Shines is actually an online course. It is a capacity building program that helps existing Lauderhill businesses scale. And it also is great for entrepreneurs who dream of starting their own business. They might want to relocate their business to Lauderhill or start a new business in Lauderhill. We teach them everything from how to establish a business, how to market your business, even how to get government contracts. So it's 8 weeks of online courses, plus you get access to city leadership, master classes where the experts will come on and teach you a lot of information. And you also get assigned a mentor from SCORE. Oh. It's a great opportunity for small business.
Okay, so for small businesses, so I have to ask Ernisha then. So Ernisha, was anything like this around for you? What do you think about a program like this?
I think that a program like that is absolutely needed. It was not around when I was coming up. I actually went to college for business. And once I started my business and got into the real world, it was like, okay, everything is very different. So programs like that are absolutely needed. And that's actually why I started the Empire University on last year mentoring. And it's like peer-to-peer mentorship because you do have your local chambers, you have, local organizations like SCORE. But for someone to put things together in one package, like what Melissa was just mentioning. I'm sorry, Commissioner was just mentioning. It just wasn't around for people like myself.
And Commissioner, I wanted to ask you, what's been probably some of the biggest hurdles, obstacles that you're hearing from business owners, especially Black business owners in your community?
Well, we actually, as a part of the application process, we asked them to identify their biggest challenges. And Jawan, almost 80% say access to capital. The next challenge is getting customers, which is why when we created the curriculum, and again, I did this in development team, our city manager, for example, is a part of this process. And so with access to capital, we have that as a course. We have even a course on how to get business credit. And we also bring in the Urban League, their Entrepreneurship Institute, to come in and do a masterclass on how to get access to capital. So that is the number one challenge that our students have identified that's standing in their way of entrepreneurial success.
You know, it's interesting. Ernisha's shaking her head right now. She's like, I can relate to this. Has that been a challenge for you, or was that a challenge for you in the beginning, Ernisha?
For many years. So I think I shared my story the last time, where in the beginning of business, I was raving, we don't need loans, and then you come to a point where you need to grow your business. And just like my friend Lydia, the accountant from Desk CPA, mentioned, she's like, you always want to get money when you don't need it, because then when you need it, it's like, where is it? Where can I find it?
Absolutely.
So for many years we searched and we went to the large banks, and even with great credit, we weren't able to get the money. We were a food business, and restaurants, they don't see us as being a favorable business to lend to. So after hitting my head time and time again, I think the last time I was with you, Jawan, I even mentioned how difficult it was. And, you go to certain organizations and they have $10,000 for you. So by the time you scrape up this 10, that 20, this 10, now you're in a situation with your credit. But thankfully, I found the Miami Bayside Foundation, who is a local, I believe they call it a CDFI, a Community Development Financial Institution, where they specialize, just like Axion, or I believe now they're called Ascendis. They specialize in giving loans, small loans, but it's something that, will help you to be able to grow. So I ran into Miami Bayside Foundation. They came through not only with finances, but mentorship, and they help small businesses to grow and get to your next level.
I love it. I love it. And their I was about to say the program. No, go ahead, Commissioner, because that's what I was about to talk about the program.
Because Ernisha, I have to tell you, the city of Lauderhill has a micro loan program. And part of the benefit to business owners about enrolling in this program is that we actually have the team members from our economic development staff on the call. So they'll tell you what they're looking for, and we'll actually walk you through the process, review your business plan. In fact, the business planning course is taught by the city's finance director, right? So it's so important to have access to that people who are actually making the decision. So I'm really happy that you were able to connect with that foundation.
You got it. And Commissioner, real fast. Commissioner, where can folks go? They're watching this. They want to know, I want to learn more about running and operating my own business. Where can they go?
Go to lauderhill-fl.gov/Lauderhill Shines. If you're an existing Lauderhill business who wants to scale your business, or if you want to start a business in Lauderhill, the application deadline is Monday.
And Ernisha, your biggest advice for those out there wanting to start their own business?
My biggest advice would be find a program like with what Lauderhill is doing, as well as with what I'm doing with coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs in the Empire University, because there's just something that it's something about doing this thing alone that it can be very depressing. You go through your highs of entrepreneurship, but baby, those lows, they are low. And when you need help, you need to have it at arm's reach. So that would be my first set of advice. And my second, as always, do not stop. You reach your level of success from consistency. A lot of people look at us now and they're like, oh, you know, you guys have blown up, and you know, you guys have a Chick-fil-A line at the new restaurant every day. But we didn't start there, Jawan. You know how, you know about the struggle. You know about how we started in a little hole in the wall. So make sure that you are consistent. You get the help that you need. Help is out there. Get the help that you need and stay consistent.
Stay consistent. I love it. Thank you both for your advice, for your words of wisdom. Commissioner Ernisha, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. You got it. Well, that's our show for tonight. You can rewatch this episode on our Facebook and YouTube pages and on air this Saturday at 9:30 a.m. And be sure to follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Jawan NBC6. And you can also send us a message if you have a story idea on social media. And before we go, remember, education is the key to success. If you believe, you will succeed. We'll see you next time. Have a great week.